The words per and cent simply mean per hundred or divided by 100. We use the percent symbol as a shorthand for the words per cent. So for example, if you see the 50 with the percent symbol, 50%, its meaning is 50% is equal to 50 divided by 100, which is 50 100ths, and that's a fraction, or 5/10 as a decimal. More generally, x percent is the same as x divided by 100, or x times 100th. Note that multiplying a number by 100% does not change its meaning because 100% is another way of writing 1, and any number times 1 is itself. So for example, multiplying by 1 and 25 hundredths by 100% gives you 125%, and 125% is just another way of writing 1 and 25 hundredths. So let's convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. So for the first row, the fraction is given 9 thousandths. So as a decimal, I would put the 9 in the thousandths place. So it looks like 0.009. For a percent, I would move the decimal 2 places to the right. So 0.9, and then add a percent symbol. For the second row, you're given 98 thousandths. You get 0.098, so that's the, since the 8 is in the thousandths place, that is 98 thousandths. So as a fraction, that would be 98 over 1,000. As a percent, you would move the decimal 2 places to the right, and we would have 9.8%. And then for the last row, 64%, again, percent means divide by 100, so you can write this as 64 divided by 100, or you could put the 64 over the hundredths place, so 0.64. All right, there are 3 types of percent problems that we'll be looking at, the 3 basic types, and it depends on what you're solving for. So every percent problem has an amount, a percent, and a base. Type 1, the amount is missing, but you're given the percent and the base. So what number is 8% of 215? Type 2, it's the base that's missing. So 90 is 22.5% of what number? And then type 3 is the percent is what's missing. So 31 is what percent of 500? So for all these, you have 2 of the 3 pieces of information, and you use what you have to solve for the third piece. So again, every percent problem has 3 parts: the amount, the percent, and the base. And with the following relationship, that the amount is the percent times the base, percent of the base. So the base is the original amount and often follows the word percent of. The amount is the end result of a percent problem. So if you're trying to figure out which one is the amount or the base, think about what you're taking the percent of. What you're taking the percent of is the base, and the result you get after doing that is the amount. So for example, in the question, what number is 8% of 215? The words what number, it represents the amount, 8% represents the percent, and the 215 represents the base. Since it's 215, it follows the 8% of. In these problems, the word is can be translated as the equal sign is equal to, and the word of can be translated as multiplication. So we can literally translate what percent is 8% of 215 as the x equals 8% times 215. So what number is 8% of 215? So let's work it out. The what number you can replace with a variable, or say like x. The is equals 8%. It's better if you write these decimal form, and then times 215. So in this case, if I want to figure out the x, I had to take 0.08 and multiply by 215. So let's do that on the side here. 0.08. 8 times 5 is 40. Then 8 plus 4 is 12. Then 8 times 2 is 16, 17. Whoops. 16, 17. And I need to move the decimal place 2 places. So I end up with x equal to 17 and 2/10. For example 3, 90 is 22.5% of what number? So I start with 90. The word is, put it equals 22.5%, so 0.225 times, in this case, it's my base. So I'll make that my unknown. And the way we solve for this is we get the x by itself by dividing by 225. So what we want to do is take 225 thousandths and divide that into 90. So I would need to move the decimal 3 places to the right. 3 places to the right. So let's get rid of that one. So we have 225 divided into 90,000. 225 goes into 900. This year, I think 4 times. So that's 20, 8, 9, 10, 8, 9. Yeah. And so 400. So when I divide, I end up with x is 400. So 90 is 22.5% of 400. And finally, 31 is what percent of 500? So we have 31 equals, I'll put it as just x, as that's my unknown as to what percent, times 500. So in this case, I would divide by 500. And I figure out 500 goes into 31. Well, let's see. 500 does not go into 31, but it does not go into 310. 500 goes into 3,100. It looks like 6 times. That would be 3,000. Subtract, you get 100. 500 goes into 1,000 twice. So it looks like x here is 0.062. But since the question is asking what percent, let's change this to a percent and end up with 6.2%.